All right, so I wanted to talk a little bit about this thing the NDP have come up with. From True North here saying the federal NDP are set to debate whether or not to phase out the Canadian Armed Forces at their upcoming 2021 convention. Now, this is a very interesting idea. I think that there's a lot of um, craziness involved in this. I mean, like I said, I think there's a lot of things to flesh out when it comes to this. I mean, there's some people that are talking about it like it's the craziest thing in the world. Other people, obviously, some people clearly support the idea. Um, I don't think it makes a lot of sense, to be quite honest. Now, again, I'm not a big fan of, government, state control, all that kind of stuff. I really, really don't like that kind of stuff. But I do think that if we actually had, you know, a, a free market, a free society, there's still, I mean, it wouldn't be the same way that it's currently being done, but there would still be an army, right? There would still be an army, and there would be an army to the exact degree that the people wanted an army. And this is just another reason why it just goes to show just how crazy people are for not supporting the concept of a free society. Mainly because they're lied to and they're indoctrinated in public schools and in universities and by the mainstream media, and that if you're if you think the government spends too much on the military, okay, well, why don't you just again, I know exactly why that they don't support it, right? Because that when they don't support it because they want to take the money that's, I mean, this is my hypothesis. There's probably other things going on here, but the hypothesis is pretty simple in that they want to take the money that's being spent on the military and spend it on more free stuff for themselves. I think that's very honest. That's very obvious, and I wish they were just honest about that. Um, but if we had a free society, well, um, people would get exactly how much military they wanted, right? If people didn't want a military, they wouldn't give any money for it, right? They wouldn't give any money for it. So that's something I really don't understand, and I think this whole, the whole virus situation has proven in my mind that um, this idea that we elect people that make decisions on our behalf, it clearly is not a good way of doing it. Again, I've said even prior to the whole pandemic that I think there'll be a point in time to where people laugh that we thought that democracy was like the pinnacle of the way of running a society. Again, like, I mean, I think, like I say, I think we go one of two directions as a world in general. We either go more down the road of tyranny, everybody goes more in the way of China, or two, we go down the road of freedom. I don't think that there's an in between. Like 200 years, 300 years, 500 years from now, there's no, I would be shocked if this is how we ran society. Things are either going to be more free or less free. Be a pretty clear distinction in one direction. I don't think it's just going to be a little bit, right? So again, that's a prediction that I've been making for the longest time. And I've only been proven more and more right about it, right? Because if what I would have need to see to be proven more wrong about it would be um, democracy actually doing something, right? Because again, like everybody complains night and day about corruption within politics, but yet people still vote for the same people over and over again. Like people have been complaining about the same problems for decades. Poverty, right? People, poverty, it's this huge issue. We got to fix poverty. Well, what's their solution? It's been the same solution for 50 years. Just give poor people more and more free stuff and take more and more stuff from the actual productive people in society. That's been the solution for 50 years. Has it worked? No. I mean, California is pretty much all the proof you need to see of this. California has a massive amount of homeless people, but they also have some of the richest people in the world. California is run by Democrats at every single level. They have very high taxes, they have very high regulations. If that's what it took to solve this issue of the wealth gap, then why isn't California one of the best states for it? Right? It isn't, because the problem with what we're doing in society is that we see this problem, and rather than actually trying something different, Our solution is just more of the same, right? We're, like I say, we see poverty in society. What's our solution? It's not let's try something different. It's let's just do more of the same. I mean, the same thing goes for this kind of stuff too. Like, um, every single person, like I mentioned that was it a National Post. I don't remember who exactly did it, but they did the poll, and every single they asked people for their two biggest complaints of each political party, and for all the left wing parties, the Greens, the NDP, and the Liberals, every single one of them had their fiscal slash economic policies. That was the biggest complaint for all three of them, I believe. But yet, what is people's solution? It's more of the same. And again, like if the NDP are too fiscally conservative for you, like I don't even have words for you. If the Greens are too even the Liberals, right? The Liberals just run a $500 billion deficit last year, and that's not enough for a lot of people apparently. No, I think most of those people, it was the whole fiscally conservative, socially liberal kind of thing. That's what a lot of people like to say they are these days. Which again, most of them actually aren't. They like to say that because it's trendy and they think that that's the right thing to do. But the reality is that nobody is really socially conservative anymore, and nobody is really fiscally conservative anymore. So, um, I mean, if you're actually fiscally conservative, you're like PPC. But yet, what percentage of those people are even open to the idea of voting for PPC, right? Like pretty much none of them. And again, like hardly anyone is against gay marriage these days. Conservatives aren't. I don't even think the PPC are. So again, like nothing in society makes any sense, I guess, at the end of the day. Now, when it comes to phasing out the military, again, I don't think Canada spends a whole heck of a lot on the military, right? I think this comes from a place of, I mean, it's the same thing with gun control, right? That Canadians think, again, we compare ourselves to the States with everything, right? We compare ourselves to the States with everything. Same goes for healthcare. Pretty much everything, like I said, is that people hear that the States spend a ton of money on the military, which is true to an extent, but it's also not true in that if you look at the amount of money the States spends on servicing the deficit, I think it's pretty much the same as what they spend on the military. If you look at the amount the state spends on Medicare, Medicaid, that's like double what they spend on the military. So they do spend a lot of money, but they don't spend a lot of money compared to a lot of other things. But I don't think Canada spends a whole heck of a lot. Again, I'd like to see the numbers. I should have looked up the numbers exactly, but I don't think it's that much. And the way that we know that is that they never cite the actual numbers. In the States, they always cite the actual numbers, which is proof that they do spend too much on the military, and I do think that the U.S. does spend too much on the military, um, but I think they waste a lot more money on other things as well. I think that this idea that in the States, if they just cut spending on the military, they could solve all their financial problems is not true. It's a complete lie. Um, but there is a lot to get into when it comes to that. But again, at the end of the day, phasing out the military, again, like, and this is one of the arguments people have against a free society. It's like, oh, what happens if people try and invade you? Which again is not a realistic question because in a free society, people would have a ton of guns and there would be privately funded armies too. And not to mention, too, in a free society, there's no tax base, which is the main reason why places tend to invade other places, right? Um, but again, that's the argument people make at the end of the day, but yet they never make it when it comes to that. And not only that, if the NDP had their way, there would be no gun ownership. Even the police, I don't even know if they want to have guns, to be quite honest. So again, it just goes to show just how disingenuous those people are. I think that they talk out of both sides of their mouth to a large degree. But I think at the end of the day, it's a bad idea. not that I agree with the way the military is currently run. I think that there's a lot of changes that should be made, but I think that the NDP, they're probably coming from a place of we want to phase out the military because we want to spend that money on giving out more free stuff and not like if they wanted to phase out the military to cut the deficit, I would be open to that. I think that that wouldn't be, again, I think that you could still cut spending a little and still have a military, but I highly doubt that that's what their proposition is. So anyway, like I said, the other thing too is that they're not, that's not actually an official policy position, at least as of right now. But it is something that's, again, the conservatives got raked over the coals for debating climate change, but yet the NDP doesn't get raked over the coals for this stuff. It's just kind of ironic how that works. So um, anyway, that's what I wanted to bring up today. If you liked the video, make sure you hit that like and subscribe. If you haven't already, make sure you check out those links below. Follow me on those other platforms if you haven't already. If you want to donate, you could do that as well. Um, I would very much appreciate whatever support I can get, but at the very least, just hit that like and subscribe and stay tuned for more.